from Grace Explorations and Basecamp. Stephen will be talking about his story and particularly what happened to him. Stephen, welcome in. We appreciate you being here and how he's also found hope. We're really gonna dig in. I'll just barely scratch the surface today, but they'll be digging into this over the weekend. It's a story I think you definitely need to hear, especially in these times. I think, because I tell you, I really think it puts into perspective what really matters. Stephen, thank you so much for being here with us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Kevin, thank you as well. Tell us a little bit about, Stephen, what happened, the story with your son, and a little bit about what you'll be talking about this weekend.
Yeah, it was a chance. He was only 10 days after his 6th birthday when he was out playing in the waves at Holland, and just unfortunately was lost to the waves. And really, the story that I'll be telling is more or less one of how, and for most people, when a tragedy strikes, you tend to question your faith. And while I did, I found more faith and more grace through such a tragic circumstance. And I want to be able to share that with everyone, as well as the story of his life, and not so much about his death, but really about his life.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about, because this is an experience. I think it's a nightmare that no parent wants to face this. But tell us a little bit about, what that process, what that was like going through. It's unthinkable, it's unimaginable, but also there's been a little bit of I guess it sounds like something that's transcended that for you as well.
Yeah, trying to just even touch on what it was like to lose. I mean, that's really going to be what the story is going to be about at the base camp. But there's so much to go into detail with. I invite everybody to come out and to hear about it, because there's just so much to be able to share right now. But he definitely had a purpose in life, and at this point, I feel like it's really my mission to carry on his light. His life touched so many people. I mean, it's just shocking that a 6-year-old could have such an impact. But that's what I want to be able to share with people, is just the impact on the lives that he had, and continue that on.
I can't imagine, Kevin. This is a story that resonated with you, and you want to invite Stephen on to talk about this coming up this weekend at Basecamp. Tell us a little bit about what really stood out to you the most, and why you felt this was something that men needed to hear.
Well, how does a guy get to a place in a short period of time? And this incident happened in June. So you're looking at just, relatively a few months here, that a man is able to get to a point where he's able to carry the torch of his son's memory and go forward. And some of the big themes that he's dealt with, and he's been very, very fortunate to have a great community of believers that have surrounded him, that have helped him to make sure that day, which was a dark day, defines him in a positive way, defines him in a way that advances the kingdom. And so I really appreciate his openness, his courage to be able to carry on his son's legacy. But I'm always interested in a man whose story didn't have the Disney-esque ending, and yet has been able to transcend the very story itself to enter into this larger story, which is really what all of humanity is struggling with right now, is how do I enter a bigger story than me? How do I forgive? How do I hold the memory of this person close to my heart, while at the same time not allowing bitterness or resentment or a sense of betrayal that God wasn't there, and where was God when all this happened? And to ask some really deep Job-like questions of God, where are you in all the mix of this? So I think a lot of people are dealing with a rip current in their life right now. We don't have great whites roaming the waters of the Great Lakes, but we have rip currents, and they take lives every summer. And it is, like you said, every parent's worst fear, every parent's nightmare. And I think in many ways, metaphysically, spiritually, we feel like that's going on right now. Like people are just being lost at sea. They're just getting dragged under by these currents, and they're following. It's just dragging them. And it's dragging them to the bottom of who they are. And it's not taking them into a higher place where they can transcend and where God's grace is active. So this story is very interesting to me, just for the sole reason that this man is able to even talk about it is unbelievable. It's a moment of grace.
Well, I got to tell you, you're going to hear more about this story. I wish I had time. It would take probably hours to get into this and really dig in and hear the full story. But it's an encouraging story. Because, as you mentioned, this is an ending that isn't happy necessarily at all. It's not a Disney ending, but Stephen, the reaction, the response, what is it that's been, that pulled that out of you?
Understanding more of a heart knowledge of my faith rather than just a head knowledge. It's easy for people to come up to me and say, Ian's in a better place. But that's just kind of touching the surface. When you actually allow yourself to believe that his soul is very much alive in heaven, that's what helps get me out of bed in the morning. It's not that he's gone forever, but if I believe that he was just in the ground and that was it, I don't know how I'd get through that. But I do believe that his soul is very much alive, and I want to continue to live a life that would make him proud.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Praying for you guys, Stephen. I know this is this is part of the journey, and I can't imagine what you guys have been through. But Kevin, this weekend, again, tell people where they can go and be a part of this. It's Basecamp, Grace Explorations, happening on Sunday.
Yeah, so we're still in the barn. So just go to Eventbrite, click in Grace Explorations or Basecamp, and it'll guide you to our Basecamp this Sunday. It's at 5 p.m. We're under the big white tent at Wildwood Family Farms in Alto, Michigan. But just go to the Eventbrite directly and type in those words, and you can be able to make a reservation for the event.
All right. We'll put links up online as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here with us today. We appreciate it. Absolutely. We'll continue this conversation and many others. If you'd like to join the conversation, you can at 616-774-2424. See this video online. We posted it to Facebook and Twitter as well, where we're streaming. Search the podcast. If you ever want to go back and hear any part of the show, you can. Just go to iHeartRadio. Click on the app, search West Michigan Live. More good news, too. We give it to you because I believe there's more out there that you need to hear. Little hope for days like today. JustinBarclay.com/good news. Justin Barclay, BARCLAY.com/good news. Back with your calls and more